Hey guys, it's Luca from Learning MTG, and I want to make an update. I haven't made a video for every single purchase and sale. I think that's kind of cumbersome, so I'll just do like updates every few days, talk about where I'm at. Um, so I bought the Asmora. I don't know how to pronounce it, but the one that gets you like the cookbook. I actually sold it in the same day for a pretty big loss, for like a 34% loss. It just wasn't moving in the direction that I thought it would. So let's take a look. Asmora is at $6 now. So I pretty much bought it at the peak, at the exact peak. One of the things that I'm actually reading about now is Elliott wave theory. So I think it's pretty clear if you look at enough price charts, you notice that price tends to move in waves. So you'll have like waves up and waves down. Um, when you're buying based on a trend, you don't really know like if you're at the top of the wave or if you're kind of halfway to the top. So, once I realized that it seemed more likely than not that we'd kind of hit the peak and that this wave was now a wave down, I pretty much sold immediately. And yeah, I sold it at a lot higher than I would have gotten if I say it sold it now. So that was a loss. And like I mentioned in other videos, you're kind of playing with fire whenever you're investing in a card that is currently being drafted and played and sealed and stuff. So that was a loss. That didn't work out so well. Um, Another thing you can always look at is you can look at the full price history, and that'll kind of tell you, right? So the full price history right when the set came out was like $530. Now we're down to $360. So there's a huge difference in price, and we're in this kind of downward trajectory. And so I think the best time to buy is not really yet. Usually I've noticed that for a brand new set, um, not the past weekend, but the next weekend might be like the best time to buy, because that's when people have had a whole week to kind of determine what's the best strategy for modern. There's also been a week of sealed and draft players selling into the market, so you get closer to that bottom. And there could be kind of like a breakout deck or a breakout strategy that is really good in modern, and then you could see that huge spike in price. Usually in the beginning, people are just trying stuff out. People are trying out their Merfolk, they're trying out their Affinity, they're trying out the domain zoo decks. People are just trying out lots of stuff. People tend to try out whatever interests them, whatever types of decks they like to play. But later on, as you move 2-3 weeks into the new set being released, I think people really start to say, okay, this is a tier one deck, and people move heavily into those decks. So those tier one decks tend to take up a much bigger metagame share, and therefore you can see the biggest increases in prices. Um, so that was a loss. It's too bad, but at the end of the day, I only lost like 19 ticks. Um, then I recently bought Force of Vigor and Urza Lord High Artificer. So these are both Modern Horizons 1 cards. I believe that there is potential for the Modern Horizons 1 cards to increase because, there's more people playing Modern. So I bought Force of Vigor, and I bought that for 14.6 ticks. It's now sitting at 18 ticks, so it's going up. If you look at the chart here, we may have like bottomed. One of the things you learn about in technical analysis are the different types of reversal patterns. This isn't a very clean pattern at all. You could maybe call it like a double bottom. It's hit like this bottom here, and it's hit the same bottom again here at about 10. So, is this potentially a reversal pattern? Maybe, maybe not. It's hard to say. But I just kind of noticed it was picking up steam, so I grabbed some. Um, Not too much more to say about that. And then Urza, that was pretty speculative, so I'll talk about Urza as well. Basically, I kind of like Urza because I think it may end up being really good with Urza's Saga. I think Urza's Saga is clearly the best card in Modern Horizons 2 right now. And it just felt to me, like Urza pairs very well with any kind of like artifacting. It does seem like I bought at a bad point. I bought it at 10.55. It's gone down to 8.21. But, this is another kind of situation where, maybe we're seeing a reversal pattern here. And if that's the case, this is more of like a long term thing. I can wait for it to play out. With the Asmora, I needed to sell immediately because that was like a short term thing. This is like a very long term pattern. It could take weeks for this to go up to 15, 20 ticks. And it's also, when you buy a card like Urza that only works in very specific archetype, you need to have an artifact deck. It's the type of card that really explodes if it's very like hit or miss. So if I had to guess, if there's no like Urza deck that ends up being good, I think it'll probably be around a 10 to 11 tick card, just because more people are playing Modern and there's always some people in the fringes that are playing Urza. But I think that if it does hit, and there is a tier 1 or tier 1.5 Urza deck, that you could definitely see this go to like 20 ticks, 15 ticks. Maybe not 20. I mean, let's see. At its high points, we were sitting at 35. So yeah, maybe we could go up to 20. In general, I always believe that, peaks end up being lower and lower just because more and more of cards end up being printed. So I would never expect to hit, those previous peaks. But, maybe there will be a tier 1 Urza deck that uses Urza's Saga, and maybe it'll hit 20, 25 ticks. It's a long shot. It's maybe like a 5-10% chance that happens. But I'm also just betting on the fact that maybe just the fact that there's more people playing Modern, this thing could just naturally go up to 12, 13 ticks without anything special happening. So those are the specs. The Urza has gone down so far. I think I bought it at kind of a bad point. I should have tried to buy it lower. Like buying it now would maybe be a lot better. 8.2. Maybe I will buy some copies right now at 8.2 because it's like a better buy price. And then the Force of Vigors and the Mishra's Baubles have been going up steadily, so that's great. I've got 8 copies of Mishra's Bauble. And right now it's at 23.76, so I bought those at 16. So it's gone up about 50% since that price, and then I bought some at 18, so definitely doing great. And again, this is very similar to the other one, since Mishra's Bauble is not a card that's in the latest set. This is definitely like a long-term thing. I'm not trying to dump it immediately or anything. Although it has seen such a great appreciation. Sometimes in investing they call it like a parabolic. When something goes parabolic, it's not sustainable, so you may want to sell into the huge jump up in price. But, I think really this weekend is going to be when these things peak. Because that's when you're going to have a lot of people building decks. Usually, in the beginning, the cards are super expensive, so people can't really build their decks yet because they don't want to pay like 100 ticks for a Ragavan. But then if Ragavan's now 40 ticks, it's a lot more reasonable. So a lot of people are going to be entering into the tournament scene for Modern. And that's going to increase the prices of these older cards. And by older, I mean not Modern Horizons 2 cards. In addition, there's going to be a lot of people that after this weekend, they're going to look at the Modern Challenge and they're going to choose their deck that they want to play. So they'll look at what cards top 8'd, what deck's top 8'd, or what deck's top 32'd or whatever, and they'll be like, oh, okay, I want to build that deck. So there's going to be a lot of people that start playing and start buying these cards because of whatever decks end up doing well in this weekend's tournament. So I would expect Mishra's Bauble to keep going up. I wouldn't be surprised if it goes to like 30 or so after the weekend. So that's probably my plan to sell. And I'm always going to have, really these are kind of just like filler bets that I have going on. The Mishra's Bauble, the Force of Vigor, and the Urzas. really what I want to do is I want to bet on a card that, you know, is in a tier 1 deck right when the tier 1 deck has its kind of breakthrough moment, and then I'll go and sell whatever I'm holding to buy that tier 1 deck. So that's all for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I hope to see you guys in the next video.